Hello, how's it going? So in this video we're going to be taking a look at my all-in-one bookkeeper Notion template. Now I made this as a self-employed developer and content creator. I do have multiple income streams and multiple businesses, so for me I needed something that I could just bring it all in one place and I can still categorize the different businesses, which you'll see as we get on in this video. So yeah, if you're someone like that, if you're self-employed, if you're a business owner, if you're an accountant, a bookkeeper, honestly this template works for absolutely everyone and it does have a lot of features. Now do keep in mind there's currently a discount. It is coming up towards the end and I notice a few people actually never use that. Don't know if you're just being generous, but thank you if you are. And the last part to note is just that this has a lot of charts, so if you're on a free Notion account you're going to be very limited because it's only 2 that's available for free accounts. Now you can pick this up on Notion Marketplace, but do keep in mind there's access lock-in, which means that you can only download it onto the account that you make the purchase from, whereas in future it's going to be released on my website, and it actually helps me out more as well if you purchase it directly. So the benefit is there's no access lock-in. But yeah, let's now dive in and have a look at the template. So this currently has 2 versions. So we have Euro and obviously USD is quite popular. So we'll go into this and we'll just take a look here. You should be greeted with this first view, but let's have a look at all the views. So the main thing to note is there's a lot of tooltips in this. So you can essentially hover over anything and you will see some messages that I've put in. So here this just explains what it is, and the all view just shows you all your income and expenses. So things that go towards your profit and loss. There's another view called all_G. The G basically stands for group. So if we go into this, you can see it's grouping it by different categories. Now these categories are not mandatory, you can change them yourself, but these are just for examples. Now we're coming up to the really nice views that I love, which are the charts. You can see here there's 3 businesses. It categorizes this based on your income or expense for a particular business. So we have a donut chart here, and then we have a bar chart, and then we have a line chart as well. Now the other views are your YTD or your year to date. So it's pretty much the exact same as all. You just have an all year to date. So everything within the current year. You have your year to date group, and then you have your year to date chart as well. You can see it's 40k here, whereas in the all it's 61. And then of course we have the rest of the charts as well. With the line chart, the year to date shows you in different months in terms of the income and expenses, whereas your all in the line chart goes by the different years. So you have 2024 and 2025. Now if you were to add stuff from maybe your past, like all the way from 2020, it'll start showing those years as well. Finally, the last view is just the view to keep track of any of the years that you've gone through. So what you'd normally do is just duplicate this and you'll change the filter. So if you go in here and you go down to the rules and then you just change it. So for example, when you make a duplication, you just change it to, let's say, 2025 and 2025, and it'll filter based on that year. So let's now go back here and we're going to take a look at one of the items or pages or income or expense, whichever you want to call it. In this case, this is on the not done view, or something that's not finished, and you have this really important property. So this is a formula property, and I'm not going to click it now because the formula is it's comprehensive enough, and it's really the main guy you should always look at. It'll tell you if you're missing anything. Now you can see it's in this view. If we were to go here, as it says, select income or expense. So let's call this an expense, which it is. You can see it's no longer in this view. And of course as well, our profit and loss is now calculated. So if we were to take that off, you'll see the profit and loss is gone again, and this is back in here. So let's leave it as an expense. Now of course this is a partial item within the database. So you can see here it is set to 60% in percentage to track, or for short PTT, which is a standard that I kind of put in place. And again, you can look at all these tooltips to give you a hand in explaining each particular property. So obviously in this case, out of this gross amount, we want to track 60%, which is really handy. This is actually something that I do. I put a certain percentage of my fuel use to my businesses. So in that case, then it calculates it and it tells us that 60% of that is 38.47. Now there is another cool little part, which is the view details. So this section essentially has all your PTTs. So in terms of the gross, it shows you it there, and it also calculates your PTT for the VAT. So in this case, the full amount VAT is $11.99, but 60% of that is $7.19. So you can see why this is really handy, and there's still a few more that's just there. Now, in terms of all the properties, I've these emojis as well. If you see this one here, which is like a no entry or a stop sign, if you want to call it that, this essentially just tells you that it isn't tracked towards your profit and loss, which is really handy because you don't want to be tracking VAT, but you do want to see that in case you need to present it for tax refunds and stuff like that. Now this one here, this is just an automation, so that means anytime you put something somewhere, this will automatically calculate. You can see here, this one's telling you that there's no fees, but let's say we added in a fee, you can see it starts to make that calculation. The fund owner is basically the owner of the transaction, so in this case the income or the expense. This is coming from me personally out of my own account, so that's why. If it's coming out of business 1 or 2, then we just select that. And then the processing account is just the bank account that processes this, so process from my personal account. Again, you can change all of this, you can edit this and just put in your own stuff. And then next we have the category as well. So this is what essentially allows you to use that view where it splits it up. And then we have the vendor. I left this intentional just as 4 examples because I know everyone has very different vendors. And then we have invoice and receipts. Honestly, it's better if you're saving this or adding it in as an image, just simply because you're able to do this and have a look. And then finally we have the processor. This is essentially just a Notion account that was used to process this. By default, when you make a new one, it will default to that user. And lastly, we have the finished. So basically you're going to work your way from top down, and then once you're done, you mark this. Even if you have everything else filled in, if you haven't marked the finish, it's not going to let you move on. Now this doesn't show up in the status. I will update that in a future version because this is a new property that I'm using to filter. But yeah, that is essentially it. You have everything here. Now there's other pages within the database and you can just flow through them, have a look at them. For example, you have the Stripe payout, which also handles fees and all that kind of stuff, so it's really handy to have. Now if you do purchase this, there is a buyer's dashboard that I usually give with any of my paid templates. Unfortunately, you won't be able to have access to this if you make a purchase from Notion Marketplace, but email me and get in touch and I'll be able to send you the link for this. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you do want to go through this, you can always go to my Notion site and you can check this out and you can go through my public templates.